Ferry Boat Fred, The Big Race by John Pye. Read by the New Storyteller. In a country at the top of the world, or the bottom according to your point of view, there's a city that's built around a harbour. So, instead of getting round on trains and buses and cars, some of the people who live there travel on boats, which are called ferries. This story is about Fred, the smallest of all the ferries. Fred's captain was very excited one morning when he came to wake Fred up. "Good day, Fred. Good day, Pete. Wake up. Today's the day that all the ferries have a race. Come on, let's go." So off they went to the starting line. On the way, Fred's captain fell asleep. Fred had been in this race before, but he'd never won. He normally came last, but it was still a lot of fun. The other ferries were already lined up. There was Bill and Kate and Lou. Fred's deckhand Pelican Pete was very excited. It was his first time in a race. "Of course we'll win, no worries," he said. "Actually, I'm not sure about that. I can't go as fast as the others, but I always try," said Fred as he took his place. Spike the Echidna fired the starting gun and they were off. All the ferries were going as fast as they could. Lou, the biggest ferry, was in the lead. Fred was trying hard, but he couldn't keep up. Lou was so far in front that she thought she'd have a rest. Before long, she fell asleep, and the other ferries overtook her. "I told you we can't lose, Fred," shouted Pete as they started to catch up. Bill was now in the lead, but he wasn't looking where he was going, and he got stuck on a sandbank. Kate and Fred were the only ferries left in the race. Kate was a long way in front when suddenly her engine started to make strange noises, and she stopped. For the first time ever, Fred was in the lead. He could not believe his luck. Pete was so excited. "Come on, Fred! Faster! Faster!" he shouted. Fred was almost at the finishing line when his engine chugged to a halt. "Oh, gee," he said, "I've run out of fuel. What will I do now? The others are catching up." "Come on, Fred!" the crowd shouted. Thinking quickly, Pete picked up one of Fred's ropes in his bill, flew in front of Fred, and pulled him over the finishing line just before the other ferries. Where would he be without me? Pete thought. Fred had won. The crowd at Wallaby Wharf cheered and cheered. Fred could not believe it. Mrs. Mitchell, the cockatoo, presented Fred with the Ferry race cup, which Pete balanced on his head Oh, look at this splash. Ooh, 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 ooh. Better not drop it off my head into the water. All the other fairies congratulated Fred. They were happy he'd won for the first time. That night, when it was dark, there were fireworks to celebrate Fred's big win, which woke Fred's captain. "Oh, and who won?" he said. Fred just sighed at him. Later that night at Wallaby Wharf, after everyone had gone home, Fred woke up suddenly. He could hear a sound coming from somewhere in the harbour, but it was so dark he couldn't see anything. Fred was quite scared. Kate, are you asleep?" he said to his big sister.
Oh, well, I was, Fred. What's wrong?
"I can hear noise, and I don't know what it could be,"
Oh, I'm sure it's nothing to worry about,
said Kate. But the noise grew louder and louder. By now, everyone was awake, even Fred's captain.
Let's go and see if we can find out where this noise is coming from,
said Kate to the others. They headed out into the harbour. Fred kept close to Kate. Soon they were at the lighthouse, where they met Belinda Brushtail, the lighthouse keeper.
Do you know what the noise is?
Asked Kate.
No,
she said.
But it's scary, isn't it? It sounds like it's coming from the harbour stores. We'll find out what it is, don't worry,
said Kate, hurrying off. Actually, do we have to? Said Fred, who was getting more and more nervous. But Kate was already off, so Fred hurried after her. He didn't want to be left on his own, but as they got closer, the noise grew louder and louder and louder. It was the worst sound they had ever heard.
Who's there?
Called Kate in a very loud voice. There was silence for a moment, and then, "It's only me," came a voice. Pete turned on the lights, and there was Spike, the echidna.
But what was that awful noise?
Asked Kate. Well, I couldn't sleep with all the excitement, so I thought I'd practice on my new trumpet, said Spike. Did I wake you? It looks as though you've woken everyone, said Fred. And sure enough, when they looked around, all the fairies had come to see about the noise. Spike felt very silly he'd caused so much fuss. He promised to never practice at night again, and he never did. This book was first published in 1993. Recorded live in 2018 at Barnhouse Company, in my bedroom, of course.